Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be covering hamstring strength and flexibility. Welcome back to another video guys. Today I'm going to be covering the hamstrings and I'm going to be showing you exercises to help stretch and strengthen them. So we know that the hamstrings cross two joints, your hips and your knees. Because of this, they have two main functions, hip extension and knee flexion. If you stay to the end of the video, I'm also going to be showing you how you can strengthen your hamstrings in a lengthened position and how you can strengthen them in a shortened position. So how do we train the hamstrings? I'm going to be showing you how to strengthen hip extension, and to do this I'm going to be using one of the most common hip extension exercises, and this is a Romanian deadlift. The Romanian deadlift is a great exercise for stretching your hamstrings, strengthening your hamstrings, and working them in a lengthened position and strengthening them at their end range of motion. Okay, so there are a few variations of a Romanian deadlift, but for this one we're going to be using a barbell. I've got the barbell set up in the squat rack and I've got the barbell set at about knee height, okay? For this movement, we just want to pick the bar up first and we want to do that safely. So I'm going to bend my knees, okay, I'm going to hinge back, keep my spine nice and neutral, and then we're just going to lift the bar up, take a step back. Okay, this is a starting position of the Romanian deadlift. From here, we're going to engage the lats, okay, and to do this, you want to feel the tension in the upper body. So you're going to pull your scapula back and down, and then try to keep your spine nice and neutral. So the position of your feet should be about shoulder width, and the position that you grab the bar with your hands should just be a little bit wider than hip width. Take a nice deep belly breath and fill your body with tension. From here, we're going to move the hips back. So you initiate this movement with the hips going backwards, keeping the bar in contact with the body. And we're using our hamstrings to dictate how low we should go. The hamstrings dictate the length. When you feel that your spine starts to flex, you know that you've gone too far, and this is your cue to come back up. So we're using those hamstrings to dictate depth. Once we hit, usually around about knee height, okay, what we're going to do from here is going to squeeze the glutes and we're going to thrust forward. So that's one rep. So every rep, you're just going to take a nice deep breath into the belly, okay, feel that tension up. Keep the bar in contact with the body, the hips move back. Feel that tension in your hamstrings. Don't lose it. Go to your end range of motion and thrust back up. Remember that the spine stays neutral throughout this entire movement. And if you find that you're bending your back at any point, you know that you have gone too far. Always keep a slight bend in the knees. This is not supposed to be locked out. A few things to watch out for that you don't want to do is, as you're lowering down, don't bend the knees more, okay? Keep that bend consistent throughout the knees. So you've got a slight bend in the knees, push the hips back. The minute you bend those knees and they come forward, you're going to lose that stretch in the hamstrings, and we don't want that. So the next exercise that we're going to be doing to strengthen our hamstrings is strengthen them in the knee flexion function of the hamstrings. This is when the knee flexes like this. There are lots of exercises that you can do, leg curls being one of the most common, whether that's seated or extended. We're going to be doing hamstring sliders. Again, just like the last exercise, this is going to be working your hamstrings through their full range of motion and also building strength at their end range in a lengthened position. Okay, so we're going to use our hamstring sliders. We're going to place our heels down on those, and then we're going to go into like a glute bridge position. This will be the starting position of this exercise. So this exercise starts with the hips extended and the knees flexed. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to use our arms to push down into the ground to just take a little bit of support off of the body so that you're not putting so much weight down on your hamstrings. This makes the exercise a little bit easier. Keep the hips extended. Okay, so squeeze your glutes, take a nice deep belly breath, fill your diaphragm up, keep tension throughout this movement. We want to extend the legs, so we're straightening the legs, fully lengthening the hamstrings all the way down to the bottom, okay, whilst keeping those hips up nice and high, so everything stays engaged here, and then we're curling, so we're flexing the knees, engaging the hamstrings and coming back up into that start position, trying not to let the hips drop. If we let the hips drop, we lose that stretch on the hamstrings, we lose that tension, okay? So we're gonna control it down, nice and controlled, and drive back up. Bring the heels as close to your bum as you can. If you struggle with these hamstring sliders, because they are quite advanced, it does require quite a lot of strength. We do have another video where we've got all the regressions and the progressions for this movement to help you build strength in this movement. So as promised at the beginning of the video, I'm going to show you how you can strengthen your hamstrings in a lengthened position and in a shortened position. Now, of course, both of the exercises that I just demonstrated are working your hamstrings in a lengthened position. For example, when you're doing the RDL, okay, you're extending at the hips, you are lengthening your hamstrings, so you are getting that stretch and you are strengthening here. However, we're not spending much time in this stretched position. So we're not getting much time under tension with the hamstrings lengthened. So this is what I'm going to show you, how you can increase your flexibility and your strength in your end range of motion with your hamstrings lengthened. The first exercise that I'm going to demonstrate is a hamstring pails and rails. Pails and rails are basically isometric contractions or an isometric stretch at your end range of motion. So the first part of the hamstring pails and rails, to strengthen them in a lengthened position, is a passive stretch. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to place our feet up in front of us. If you don't have the flexibility for this, you can use something lower. You can actually even do this on the ground. But basically, we're going to be putting our foot up in front of us. We're going to keep a nice neutral spine like we did in the Romanian deadlift. Okay, we're moving from the hips and we're hinging forward. What we're trying to do is lengthen the hamstrings, so lengthen this muscle here. You can feel that stretch. It's okay to keep a slight bend in your knee. Doesn't need to be locked out. Slight bend in your knee like you did when you did the Romanian deadlift. So you're just going to go to your end range of motion, keeping your spine nice and neutral. If you find that you're losing that tension in the hamstrings and you're flexing your spine, you know you've gone too far. It shouldn't look like this. We're hinging at the hips only, keeping that tension here. You're going to hold this position for 2 minutes. So this is a 2-minute passive stretch. Just get our hamstrings used to being in this lengthened position here. Once the 2 minutes is up, we're going to start the contractions that I was talking about. So these are the isometric contractions done at end range to help us build strength, to improve our flexibility in this position, improve our range of motion. So from here, I'm going to start by driving my feet down into the ground. And to do this, I'm engaging the hamstrings and I'm putting all my energy into driving as much as I can into the bench. 100% contraction, squeezing the hamstrings. This is the pails contraction, 10 seconds. Once the 10 seconds is up, I'm going to relax. I'm going to go instantly into pulling myself deeper into the stretch. And how do I do this? I'm going to engage the muscles on this side now. So I'm engaging those hip flexors and quad muscles, and I'm trying to basically hinge further into this stretch. Imagine you're lifting your heel up off of the bench, but it's not actually coming up. All you're doing is moving deeper into this stretch. Okay, the heel should never actually lift off the bench. So full contraction for the rails contraction, 10 seconds, and then relax. We're gonna do 4 more of those contractions, okay? So pushing down into the bench for 10 seconds, pulling up for 10 seconds, followed by pushing down for 10 seconds, followed by pulling up for 10 seconds. And that is your hamstring tails and rails. Okay, so for knee flexion tails and rails, we're just going to set up on the bench here. And basically we want that knee flexion. So we want this leg bent. This is what we're focusing on here. So I'm just going to go into this position here. I'm going to try and keep my hip extended throughout this movement. I don't want to be bent. I want to be extended so I can focus on just strengthening the hamstring in a shortened position. Okay, if I do this, I'm going to lengthen it. I'm going to lose that shortened position there. So keeping it in a shortened position, we're going to do a 2-minute stretch in this side, and this 2-minute stretch is going to be felt in your hip flexors. Okay, so this just looks like a hip flexor stretch. Quite weird. What's that got to do with the hamstrings? It's because in the process of stretching the hips, we're also going to be strengthening the hamstrings in this movement. You're going to see how. So 2-minute hold. Okay, once that 2 minutes is up, what we're going to do is we're going to start by driving this foot down towards the ground. And to do that, I'm going to contract my hip flexors, okay? So I'm going to push those down into the ground, and this is that 10 seconds contraction that I was talking about before. It's max effort, okay? You're really going to feel it here. Maximum contraction, 10 seconds. Once that's up, then we're going to start strengthening the hamstring in a shortened position. And to do this, nothing changes here. We're just going to engage the hamstrings, and we're going to pull our heel towards our bum. So we're pulling away from this bench as much as we can, contracting. You'll really feel this muscle tensen up, and that's a 10-second maximum contraction. Again, relax, and then we're gonna do 4 more of those. So that's driving down, so pushing our foot into the ground, contracting the muscles on the front for 10 seconds, followed immediately by pulling the heels away, contracting your hamstring in that shortened position, 10 seconds. I'm gonna do that 2 more times. So the aim of this video was to show you how you can train your hamstrings in all of its functions. So we've done a hip extension exercise for the hamstrings, we've done a knee flexion exercise for the hamstrings, and I wanted to keep it well-rounded, so I wanted to show you exercises to strengthen your hamstrings at their end range of motion, so in a lengthened position and in a shortened position. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, please subscribe, leave a comment below, and let us know what you would like us to cover in future videos.